Hola, hola a todos, tu prima favorita Bobby here, and thank you for joining me in the Cousins Corner. If you are new here, welcome to the Cousins Corner. If you are not new here, welcome back. I'm tu prima favorita Bobby, and I just like to talk. And today, I'm going to be talking about a few of the best dating tips or advice that I have heard. If you know some that I leave out, you can feel free to drop them below in the comments, but I'm gonna go ahead and get right into it and give you a few of the best tips that I can give you if you are out here trying to navigate this dating scene, baby. And if you're not and you want to, get out your house and go do these things I'm about to tell you. So let's go ahead and get into it. Number one is to be clear about what you want. Okay? You know what you want more than anybody else. You know what it is that you need more than anyone else, and only you can make sure that you get exactly what that is. But you must first be clear with people and be upfront with what it is that you want. If you are going into dating unsure about that, I'm gonna say take some time to kind of figure that out first, because these dating streets can be brutal, honey. They can be really, really brutal. And if you go in here, I don't want to say a game without a game plan, just because I'm tired of a lot of us equating dating to a game. But at the same time, it's like you have to be strategic to some point, and part of that strategy is being clear about what you want. So being clear about what you want is just knowing exactly what it is that you want. Know if you're wanting something long-term, if you're wanting something more casual, if you're wanting something more solid, or if you're open to any of the above. You have to know that for a fact, though, within yourself, because if you kind of come in willy-nilly, flimsy, not really sure, people are going to play with you. People are going to play on your head. They're going to play on your top because you let them. And not even just out of malicious intent or anything like that, but some people are just like, well, you don't know what you want, then I can show up any kind of way and have my cake and eat it too, or whatever, because you just willing to go with whatever. And if you're cool with that, that's totally fine. But if you know that that's not your goal, if you know that you want something more intentional, or you want something more real or more solid, as I said, you have to show up like that, and you have to let that be known. Plus, communicating your intentions, especially up front, is one of the biggest way to make sure that nobody's time gets wasted. You make sure that there are no room for misunderstandings. You're making sure that there's no room to be, oh, I thought this, I assumed that. Like, no, I told you what it was, you told me what it was, and we were good to go. And sometimes it's going to come with having that conversation more than once, right? We're human beings, we change, and sometimes we're like, okay, I'm cool with this now, and then next month it's like, I want something different. Like, be okay with really being forthcoming with what it is that you want. And it might change when you're with this person. It's like, oh, I wanted something casual, but then I met this person and that completely changed for me, because now I'm seeing more of what it is that I need, or more of what I desire, or more of what it is I want. You're gonna learn yourself all throughout this process. So be okay with the fact that that may change, but first and foremost, figure out what you want and be clear about it. Be clear about it. Point number two, número dos, do not settle out of fear of loneliness. It is better, it is better to be single, it is better to be alone than settling for something that is not bringing you happiness or not fulfilling you just for the sake of having a relationship or being with somebody else. People will say this all the time, and it probably sounds cliche at this point, but the right person is going to show you why waiting was worth it, right? And sometimes we might think that somebody's the right person, and then they end up not being the right person, and it's fine. It comes with trial and error sometimes. But the important thing to understand and to make sure is that you are not settling out of fear of loneliness, that you're not doing things just because, well, might as well, why not? And I'm telling you, this is coming from a person who has, not necessarily that I settled out of loneliness, but I have given things a chance, or just gone with the flow of things or whatever, just because it's like, well, nothing else is happening right now. You know, I'm out here, I'm going on dates or whatever, and it's like, well, I know this person might not necessarily want anything serious or whatever. We could just kick it and just like vibe it out or whatever until something else picks up over here with this other person, or another person comes along, you know, whatever. And I'm gonna tell you, anytime that I've done that, it's not been worth it. It's not been worth it when I knew that I wanted something more intentional. So just putting myself in these positions to be like, well, might as well, why not? Let's just have fun. Let's do it for the plot. Remember, we don't do stuff for the plot in 2024. It is almost 2025. We are too grown for that. But yeah, just making sure that you're not settling, again, out of fear of loneliness, but also that you're not settling out of fear of, well, it's just something to do in the meantime. Because if you know for a fact that you want something more intentional, don't play around with people or allow people to just be there or take up space or bask in your beautiful energy just because something else is not hitting at the moment. So yeah, just don't do it. It's not worth it. These people ain't worth it. They're not worth their time. They're not worth their time. If you know what it is that you really, really, really want, and you know that you might be looking around and it's like, y'all ain't got it for me, be by yourself. Be by yourself. It is okay. It is okay. Another thing is pay attention to consistency and effort. I understand that even if you're out here just doing the whole casual thing or whatever the case may be, maybe you're not necessarily looking for anything serious right now. Maybe you are really just in a go with the flow type vibe. I'm gonna warn against that. Don't go with the flow. If there's a flow that's actually moving and y'all both are being intentional about that flow, okay, that's one thing. But just go on with the flow. It don't work. It don't work. It doesn't work unless if you really want something true, something intentional. It doesn't work. But you have to pay attention to people's consistency. Consistency and effort are direct indicators of interest, and don't let anybody try to tell you otherwise. A guy can tell you, oh, I like you or whatever, but if he's not showing up consistently, and you get to decide what consistency means for you and what good consistency feels like for you, right? There are some women that are like, consistency for them means that y'all are talking every day or whatever the case may be, or maybe a certain number of times a week. And then for somebody else, I'll say like me, I don't like over communication, so I'm not going to talk to you all day every day. I don't have the time to do that, and I would hope that you're too busy to have the time to do that. But my thing is, I do need to hear from you regularly, right? I enjoy hearing from the people that I'm talking to on a consistent basis, because I know if you're showing up for me consistently in dating, then I am more open of giving you, you know, a chance, possibly longer term, because you know how to show up consistently when we're just in a dating stage. It's the same thing when it comes to casual with me. Like, I'm okay. I don't want to put my business out there, but like, I'm okay with casual, but let's just say, like, I've done casual before. I can do casual, but casual, even for me, comes with some form of consistency, because for me, your consistency, your willingness to show up, me hearing from you, us being able to communicate with each other, especially in those times where we're not able to actually be in each other's faces, to me, that tells me how interested you are in me. And granted, even if it's not like, oh, you about to be my man type thing, we're just kind of like kicking it or whatever, it's like, if you can't be consistent even in that, then it's a waste of time for me. It's a waste of time, because for me, consistency and effort directly correlates to interest. And if there's no consistency, if there's no communication, there is no interest. You cannot be interested in Bobby if you're not gonna talk to Bob. You're not gonna talk to Bob's the builder. Anyway, I digress. But yes, pay attention to consistency. Pay attention to the effort that a person puts in. Make sure that somebody's actions are matching their words. And if you see that somebody is putting in an effort to actually be intentional, to actually build a connection with you, whether that's on a casual basis or on a more intentional, like leading towards a relationship type basis, that's a good sign. But if someone's exhibiting flaky behavior, if someone is exhibiting inconsistent behavior, they're going ghost and then popping back up, or they're going ghost but they're orbiting and then they come back, or whatever the case may be, or they're showing you that they are not considerate of your feelings, they're not able to hold space for you emotionally, they're not emotionally available, they're not trying to build a deeper connection, even a friendship or whatever with you, that's probably not somebody that you want to kick it with if you are intentionally dating. Now, again, different strokes for different folks. If you are just out here just wanting to have a good time, you don't really care about all that, then this video is probably not for you. But if you are wanting to date, you know, with more intentional, even if it is like on a casual basis, but just with the intent of getting to know people and building deeper connections to see if those connections could go somewhere, then you want to pay attention to that. Because what we don't want to do is be wasting our time with people who are emotionally unavailable and who are inconsiderate of our feelings and not able to hold space for us. Because who wants to do that? Like, who wants to exert their energy on someone who's just gonna suck the energy out of you but not necessarily be able to replenish that back to you? We're not doing that. We don't want to do that. The next one, number 4, numero 4, is you want to communicate openly and honestly. Now, I know that there are so many just dating tactics and tips and all this stuff that are telling you to just be silent. They should know already. You shouldn't have to tell anybody. I will say, to some extent, I agree with that. You shouldn't have to keep repeating yourself. You shouldn't have to nag somebody into showing up for you. There are certain things that you maybe should not have to tell people. Like, I shouldn't have to tell you to be consistent or communicative, because that's the bare minimum basis of any type of relationship. But I do believe that you should communicate openly and honestly. I don't believe in just hush up and let them figure it out type thing. No, speak on it, because I know for me, if something is bothering me, I'm going to communicate. I'm getting better at learning my different approaches, because, you know, some people don't take well to certain types of approaches to communication, but you should be able to communicate openly and honestly. You should be able to share your feelings, share your desires, and share your concerns. And if a person is thinking like, well, this is way too much, then they can go. They can go, because you will not be too much for the right people. It's just like your friends or any type of relationship. You will not be too much for the right person. And if me communicating my needs or my desires or my frustrations or feelings or whatever to you is a bit much, then you are not a person who is ready for open communication. You are not a person who is able to hold space for me, and you're not a person that I want in my space, because you can't even hold space for me. So let's not do this, you know? It's important to understand that healthy relationships thrive off of communication. Think about the relationships that you have with your closest friends. Think about the relationship that you have to close family members. You communicate with these people. You let them know when you're frustrated. You let them know when you're sad. Y'all hold space for each other. Y'all talk to each other about things that are bothering you, about your wants, about your needs, about your wishes, about your goals, whatever the case may be. Same thing stands in a relationship. Same thing stands in dating. So if you are dating intentionally, let's just take it this route here. We're talking about dating intentionally, okay? Let's leave the casualness out of it, okay? Because that can start to skirt the lines just a little bit. But just thinking as far as intention, you should be able to be vulnerable. And again, like, being vulnerable doesn't mean that you have to pour out your traumas to somebody, that y'all gotta cry together and trauma bond. It just means that you should be able to communicate your feelings and your desires. You should be able to open up and be seen and show yourself a bit more. And if you are finding yourself in dating in situations where these people are not making you feel like you can do that, well, then that is a person, or those are people that you don't need to be around. If you're afraid of being vulnerable, you have to remind yourself that being vulnerable and expressing yourself is what's going to help build deeper bonds, right? Being vulnerable is what makes you more relatable to a person. But again, if a person is emotionally unavailable, or they don't have the capacity to hold space for that, they're going to show you that in those moments of you being vulnerable, or you opening up to them, or trying to hold space for them. And if you are intentional about, you know, your dating goals, or just intentional about getting to know somebody better, and they're not on the same page with that, then that's somebody that's gotta go. You gotta be willing to be like, okay, cool, I tried to hold space for you. I tried to share myself with you. I tried to allow myself to be seen, and you don't have the capacity to hold that space for me. So I don't have the capacity to keep this going with you. The next thing is focus on shared values. Chemistry is important, but what is going to sustain a long-term healthy relationship is shared values and shared goals. Now, this doesn't mean that you and the person have to be exactly alike, that y'all have to want exactly the same things in life. This just means that your core values, the things that you hold strongly, must match. Compatibility is great. Compatibility is important. important. Chemistry is great. Chemistry is important, but what is going to make you and a person compatible? What is going to make y'all mesh well together? What is going to set y'all up for a more successful long-term relationship is going to be the compatibility. And the compatibility also comes with your shared goals and your shared values. So you have to make sure that y'all are compatible in your lifestyle. I know for me, I value health and fitness, right? I'm not a bodybuilder or anything like that, but I take care of my body. I eat well, I exercise regularly. Those are things that are very important to me. I am about having an active lifestyle. I like to go on hikes. I like to go jump off of rocks when I'm like doing trails or whatever the case may be. Like I like to be active. And for me, that is a value that I hold near and dear. And so honestly, for me, I can't be with somebody who does not work out. Someone who's like, oh no, I never work out. I never go to the gym. I eat whatever I want to, whatever, whenever I want to. That is not compatible for me, because that is not how I live my life, and that is not how I don't desire to have a partner who lives their life like that either. And no shade to the people who don't work out. I know that that's not for everybody. No shade to the people who don't care about what they put in their bodies or what they eat. I do. And so for me, that is something that is highly important, and that is a value that I stand on. So I will not date a guy who doesn't work out. I will not date a guy who doesn't take care of his body. I want to, date somebody who finds that value is the same as me. And that goes into any area, whether it's, family is a value for you, future planning is a value for you, business is a value, whatever the case may be. So it's important to make sure that you're aligning on your values, and that you are choosing people who also align with you on your values, even if y'all's goals are not, exactly the same, or y'all don't line up identically. You and that person still need that compatibility within those values. And that is very important, and a super, 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 super pro tip when you are dating. Again, chemistry is great, but chemistry can only get you so far. It's that compatibility and that alignment that's going to take you further when you're getting to know people, or when you're dating people, and potentially setting up, what could be the rest of your lives with these people or with this person. Another thing is maintaining your independence. Woo. This is a big one, and I feel like, I know for me personally, it is important. I feel like a lot of times people get into relationships and they become super codependent on each other, or one person becomes super codependent on the other person. I'm a firm believer in, we gotta have our own lives. I had hobbies before you came into my life, and I'm gonna have hobbies when you come into my life. I have passions, I have things that I like, I have things that I'm going to want to do with you, that I'm gonna wanna bring you into my world in. You have things that you're gonna wanna do with me and wanna bring me into your world in. But then there's also gonna be spaces that we need to just not. And I am really big on making sure that I have my me time, that I have my space. Again, I want you in my space sometimes, and I want to be in your space sometimes, but we also have to have that space apart. And independence is something that is super important for me. We should be two separate people living our lives, able to come together when it's time to come together, but also able to be apart when we're needing to be apart, when there are things that I need to tend to in my life and things that you need to tend to in yours. That is also a way to make sure that you don't lose yourself in a relationship. I've seen plenty of people get into relationships, and then that just becomes, that's just where they are. They don't go out no more. And I'm not saying that you still need to go out or whatever, but I'm like, they don't hang out with their friends. They don't do things that they used to love doing. If they used to travel a lot, if they used to go, paint pictures in the park, if they used to go take walks by the lake, or go on these, super extravagant sightseeing hikes or whatever the case may be. And it's like, well, no, now I just do my stuff with my man all the time, and we just sit in each other's face all the time, and there's nothing wrong with having those moments, but it's like, if you're losing yourself or giving up these aspects and these things that you love because you now have a partner, That is a dangerous ground to be. And I don't say that as being a person who's like, you should go into a relationship not expecting it to last forever, but you should go into a relationship still being an individual and still being your own person. Because if something happens to them, God forbid, or something happens between the two of y'all and this connection is lost, or y'all decide to break up, or whatever the case may be, if you have allowed yourself to get lost in this relationship where you lose your identity, your independence, and your sense of self, and it is now tied into this relationship, and that goes awry, that goes wrong, and that breaks apart, you now have to relearn yourself all over again. You're gonna have to pick up those pieces to rebuild yourself. And I'm sure that a lot of us have seen that happen so many times with people having to figure or refigure who they are. Who were they before this relationship, before they lost themselves in this person, in this connection, and now having to go pick up the pieces and figure out all over again, what did I used to do and how do I find that joy again? So it's important to maintain your own hobbies, maintain your own goals, maintain your own friend, because a healthy relationship should enhance your life. It should add to your life. It should be another plus in your life, not something that consumes your entire person and your entire being. Número 7, watch out for red flags early on. Okay, so it's important to not ignore warning signs early on. I know sometimes we can get into the honeymoon stage. I really like this person, he's so cute, she's so cute, I love that they're driven and ambitious and they got all these things about them and the chemistry is there and it's so fire, but you ignore the fact that this person is not considerate, or you're ignoring the fact that this person is actually pretty negative, or you ignore the fact that this person is actually always complaining and sometimes even complaining about you. Don't ignore those red flags when you see them early on, especially if you're seeing things like that, but also lack of respect, controlling behavior, dishonesty, things that sometimes it can be so easy to make excuses for because you're still getting to know that person and it's still early on, and it's like, oh, well, maybe they didn't mean it, or oh, well, maybe they're not being controlling, they're just being a bit overprotective, or you know, whatever. And it's like, I need you to explore that, because if you are getting some type of feeling based off of the way that they acted or reacted, there's a reason for that, and you need to explore that more. You need to pay attention to that. Now, I'm not gonna sit up here and pretend like red flags are always just easy to right off the bat just spot, because some people are good at hiding, but people can't hide for long. And so it's important for you, not necessarily that you're looking for the red flags in people, not saying do that, but saying that you are being attentive and you are paying attention when there are certain things that are showing up and you're like, I didn't really like that. I didn't really like how he responded. I didn't really like how she reacted, and it gave me pause because it seemed like there's something else there, and maybe there's further conversation that you need to have with that person to kind of see how they are, or more watching that you need to do. And that's just a part of the vetting process, right? You are still getting to know this person, so maybe it was just an honest mistake, but sometimes we tend to take these honest mistakes and we just allow them to just happen over and over and over again. And it's like, how many more times does this man gotta call the waitresses B words when y'all go out to eat for you to recognize that, oh, he likes to call women B words, and I might be one of those B words in the future, and I don't have time for it. So watch out for those red flags. The next one, número 8, is pace yourself, y'all. Pace yourself. And to my girlies who got like anxious attachment styles, I know that this can be a hard one for you to hear, or even just to anybody who is really longing for, you know, a relationship or just like a connection with somebody or whatever the case may be. Don't be afraid to pace yourself. You do not need to be in a rush in a relationship, right? The right person, the right connection is not going to rush you. If somebody just met you 2 weeks ago and they already trying to tell you, I love you and I want to marry you today and all of this stuff, and it's like, dude, I just learned your last name like 2 days ago. We just met like literally not even 16 days ago. Like, be okay with pacing it out, because a person who is really interested in getting to know you, a person who is really interested in being intentional with you, is not going to make you rush. And I understand that sometimes there are these relationships that just work really, really well, and things just fall into place, and they just seem to kind of move a bit faster because they fall into place. That's fine if you know that that's healthy, that you're in a healthy situation with that person, you vetted them, you know, and you know, that happens. I'm not going to pretend like that doesn't happen, but I will say that the exception does not make the rule. And just because you've seen that happen or you've witnessed it does not mean that you should let your guard down and just roly-poly-oly yourself into something super, super quick with somebody. Be okay with pacing yourself. Be okay with letting things fall into place naturally and not feeling like you have to rush things because you're racing against the clock, or your biological clock is ticking, or you have this timeline set up in your head of by when I need to be in a relationship and when I need to be married and when I need to do this and do that and do the other, because the universe might humble you real quick. So be okay with pacing it out. Be okay with things not happening necessarily on your timeline that you've set up and planned for yourself. Allow time to truly get to know this person and that they truly get to know you, so that the relationship can develop naturally, so that you can really see, is this somewhere that both of us want to be? Is this the relationship that I want to be in? Is this shaping out to be something that I need, something that you need, something that we both are looking for? Because if you tend to rush into things, you might end up rushing right out of those same things as well. So it's important to be okay with the slow burn. Sometimes it can be really, really hard for people. And again, like I said, like my girlies with and guys, men, people with anxious attachment styles, it might be kind of hard for you to scale back and pace yourself. But again, like, it is better for the slow burn. It is better for these things to just roll into place naturally after you've gotten time with that person and they've gotten time with you, and y'all have gotten to feel each other out and see where this is going and how it's going, versus rushing into something, getting caught up, getting emotionally attached and connected to this person, and then it all goes to crap. And now you crashing out because now you're trying to get over and away from this person because you dove right in instead of just letting it naturally just unfold. Pace yourself. Tener paciente. Like, it is okay. It is okay. I promise you, it is okay. And if that person is your person and y'all are really meant for this to go somewhere, that slow burn it's going to bring you so much pleasure in the end, and it's going to be so worth it that you waited for this to happen naturally and fall into place. Número 9. Be mindful of attachment styles. If you've watched any of my recent videos, my most recent videos, you know that I've been on this journey of healing my attachment wounds after I discovered my attachment styles. Me and my therapist be having some great conversations. In celebration of me, I finished my workbook that she gave me, so we're gonna be talking about that. But anyways, we're not gonna make this about me and my disorganized attachment style, but be mindful of what your attachment style is. It is so important when you're going into relationships to understand what your attachment style is, because ultimately that is going to play a key role in how you allow yourself to be treated, how you treat other people, how you come across when you are dating, when you are getting into relationships, when you are getting to know people. Your attachment style is going to play a huge part. And if you don't know what it is and you don't get that in check, you might show up in ways that you don't necessarily mean to, because you just simply are not aware that you're doing it. You're not aware of what your attachment style is. Understand what yours is, and also understand that of the person that you're dating. Y'all can, I mean, honestly, attachment styles make interesting conversations, and it is something that's like interesting to explore with your friends, or even with the people that you're like dating or getting to know. Like, it is very interesting, and some people are gonna know and some people are gonna be like, what the heck are you talking about? And then it's another interesting fact that I get to share to you because you don't know what I'm talking about. But then it also has me side-eyeing you because why at our big ages you don't know what attachment styles are. But that's neither here nor there. But if a person can also be aware of what theirs is, and y'all can have conversations about that, like, that right there will set you up for a better connection with that person in general. Because it's like, if I know that I'm disorganized and he tells me that he's anxious, or he tells me that he's avoidant, or he tells me he doesn't know, let's go take an attachment style quiz, baby. Let me be your first into this introduction of this world, and let's talk about your attachment wounds. You know, you about to fall in love and you don't even know it. No, let me stop. But it can really set up for another level of connection that you and that person have, because now y'all are sharing this exploratory experience with each other. But most importantly, knowing your attachment style is what's going to help you to navigate emotional dynamics with another person, and also help you to kind of avoid mismatching, or help you to avoid falling into a repetitive cycle. If you know that your attachment style is anxious and you tend to choose avoidant partners, knowing that when you go into dating, once you start seeing these traits show up in certain partners, or you have somebody tell you like, yeah, I'm an avoidant and you know, I ain't planning on doing nothing about it, it's like, cool, I'm an anxiously attached being and this ain't gonna work. Or if I'm like, I'm for me myself, I'm disorganized, and this person is telling me, well, no, I'm more of a secure attachment style. It's like, oh, you might be the one for me, baby. You might be the one that I've been looking for, because I've been looking for something secure to help me be secure. Not to say that that helps me be secure, but you know, if you've done any attachment style research, you know that secure people tend to be able to bring security to relationships for people who might not have secure attachment styles, and are able to help them to regulate just because, by way of them being secure, right? I hope that makes sense. Tongue twisters, all this attachment style stuff. But yeah, knowing your attachment style is going to set you up really well, because then you know the types of people that you should avoid, or the types of people that you should have more pause around, or that you should really pay attention to. How is this person making me feel? What types of feelings are they bringing up when I'm around them, when we're having certain conversations or certain interactions? And it's going to help you better in dating. It's going to help you fare better in dating, because you'll know what to look for and you'll know what to avoid. Last but not least, numero 10 is going to be have fun and enjoy the process. And sometimes that can be easier said than done, because I've said it in a previous video too. Dating can be triggering sometimes, y'all. Like, it can be annoying, it can be triggering, it can bring up things for you that you didn't know about yourself, and that sometimes can be a bit triggering and a bit like, dang, I didn't know I was like that, or I didn't know that that's the way I thought, or I didn't know that that's what I was internally telling myself. But it can also be this moment of just like beauty of like, I'm discovering my needs, and I'm discovering things that I want and that I value in a partner, and things that are necessary to me. I'm discovering my non-negotiables. I'm discovering things that I thought that I really needed or thought that I really wanted that are not necessarily that important to me. Like, it's a whole world of discovery. And it's not always about just, I gotta find my husband, I gotta find my man, I gotta find my next boyfriend. It's a time for you to really be able to explore and enjoy the process. Like, you're getting to know other people, you're getting to know yourself. And yeah, if you have an end goal of like being married or being partnered or whatever the case may be, yeah, it can get annoying because you gotta kiss all these frogs, or don't kiss the frogs, actually just pet the frogs, right? But you gotta go through all of this nonsense, and maybe sometimes it feels like you're sifting through filth before you find a diamond in the rough or whatever. But honestly, it's about how you go into it thinking about it, right? It's the mindset that you have going into it. So if you go into it with this mindset of, oh my gosh, I gotta sift through dirt, I gotta sift through dirt so I can find me a nice pebble that's decent enough to take home, versus, oh my god, I get to sift through all these pebbles until I find one that just really catches my eye that I want to take home and add to my collection to keep forever. Ignore that I had a malfunctioning moment really quickly. But yeah, dating should be fun. You should think of it as fun, and sometimes it's not always going to be like that. So sometimes you are going to want to take breaks, or you are going to want to scale back, and there's nothing wrong with that. But going into it with the mindset of, I get to meet people, I get to make connections with people, and if it doesn't work, then you know, whatever, that just wasn't for me. I just keep on going. Or if a connection that I had with somebody, things might have been seeming to go well, but now we're kind of falling out, that's totally cool. Chunk up the deuce and I'm out. I'm keep going my merry way. But it's all on you of how you decide to think about this process. You are the one who sets the tone for it. You are the one who sets the tone for your dating life, for your dating experience. And if it's gonna be fun, you have to be the one to decide that it's gonna be fun. So focus more on the experience, focus more on enjoying the time to learn yourself and to learn others, even if that learning doesn't lead to immediate success or immediate results. It's the fact that you are having these experiences and you're able to take something away. And I mean, you got to think of it as like, yeah, I got out the house this week, right? I went on a date with this guy, and maybe we never talk again, or maybe we're going on a date, you know, next week, or what, maybe we planned a second one, or whatever the case may be. But all in all, like, I had a good time. I put myself out there. I met somebody new. I learned. I got a new restaurant to add to my list. Whatever the case may be, make it fun for you. It should be an experience. And sometimes it's gonna lead you, you know, into something that might pan out great, and sometimes it might not. But you know, sticking to these tips and following them all together is going to yield you better results than just going into it with the mindset of negative Nancy and no strategy at all. So I say all that to say that follow these tips and you'll have dating success. No. But I say all that to say that these are just some tips that work really well as far as if you're putting yourself out there, whether you've taking a break and you're getting back into the scene, or you're learning a new way to maneuver or to navigate through this dating scene, or play this dating game, if you will, if that's what you want to call it, or whatever. But if you have anything to add to the conversation, any tips, tricks, or things that have been going well for you, or maybe not so well, and you just want to vent and share a story, please feel free to drop a comment down below. I'd love to engage with you guys in discussion. And also don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for joining me, tu prima favorita, here in the Cousins Corner, and I will see you next time. Bye.